It is time now to start once a week feeding the containers with a water-soluble fertilizer. I've actually already done it once. We planted them like 2.5 weeks ago, and they have been fertilized once. But now, after church every Sunday, we're just gonna pop over here and do it real quickly. Here's what I'm using. Ignore my can here. Proven Winners. It is the premium water-soluble plant food. And these are annuals, with the exception of the Gara, they're annuals. This is really easy to do. You have 2 little packets in this container and a little scoop, 1 scoop per gallon. I will be putting a gallon, this is a 2-gallon reservoir here, I'll be putting a gallon in each bucket. So that's all there is to it. And while the hubs is filling it up with water for me, I will go along and talk a little bit about the plants, show you, what is this, a 2-week, basically, update. So far, everything is looking really pretty good. You know, with plants, the rule of thumb basically is the first year, they sleep. The second year, they creep. And the third year, they leap. So your goal year 1 is just basically to keep them alive. Now the string theory Amsonia, it already had its blooms early spring. So we won't have any more blooms this season, but we will have some gorgeous fall color. And honestly, I just like the foliage on this plant. It stays compact, fairly petite. Looks like I need to get over here and do a little weeding. A few weeds popping up. I noticed our Gara that we planted here at the back, the white, is starting to bloom some, and we're getting some new blooms on the Low Walker's catmint. Still look really good, really healthy. Everything just looks great, with the exception of one thing on down the way. The Going Bananas daylilies are starting to go bananas with blooms. Now, the salvia, that one on the left doesn't look just super well, but I do think I'm going to have to start turning on the drip irrigation to water every day here shortly, because I think that's what's going on with that one. Out of the 12 salvias that we ordered, one of them died on me, and I took a picture of it and called the plant company, told them about it, and they are sending me a new one. Going bananas, and again, salvia, looking like it needs a little water. And oh my, how these things are starting to grow. This is just 2 weeks, y'all. You see the Gara coming up, sweet potato vine. Then we've got the Calibrachoa, the petunias here. And why can't I think of the name of this? Mine's drawing a blank. I'll put it up on the screen. But yeah, these are starting to look great. So Randy, if you don't mind pouring half that bucket there, we'll give them a nice good drink. Gallon in each one. This one too is looking great. Super Bina, that's what I was trying to think of. This is the Super Bina. And then again on this side, we've got the same situation. That salvia looking a little dry. We are supposed to have rain off and on every day this next week, so I will wait until the following week to turn it on to water every day. Come down here, show you where the one died. It is right here. One on the right survived, one on the left is dead. But a replacement is coming. And again, let's look down here at the catmint. Starting to have some blooms again. Looking good. This is June 3rd. It's been 3 weeks. And I'm going to go along and give you an update so you can see the plant growth. I also got some little copper plant tags so that I could label each of the plants. Along the stone border is the creeping Jenny. And if you watch the video, you know that we only had, well, we have 80 feet to cover, and I only purchased 40. And I also showed you how I used cuttings to propagate additional creeping Jenny in some water. Plus, at my own home, I dug up a few and potted them in pots so that they would root. And last week, I came along and planted both the propagated little pieces, like these two down here, and the ones that I had potted up. This is the emerald green arbor vitae. Got a little browning on the side that I need to clip out, but overall it's looking very healthy. And I'm tickled that it's not drowning. Last week, over the course of 4 days, we had 1.5 inches of water, of rain. This is the string theory Amsonia, some mixed gladiolas, and you can see we finally have some blooms starting. Be interesting to see what all colors are here. The Walker's Low catmint has grown a lot compared to when it was first planted, and we're starting to get the second flush of blooms. Behind that is the Intermountain Gara. It's looking good, starting to get some flowers on that. Sky Pencil Japanese hollies. They look very healthy. They are slow growers, so not expecting a ton of growth, but you do see a few new tips coming up there. The dwarf firepower Nandinas doing well, a little bit fuller than they were when they were planted. And as I suspected, the Azure Snow Salvia desperately needed a lot of water, and it got it last week. Now it's looking so much healthier. The Going Bananas daylilies, grown quite a bit. We're starting to get some great blooms. In the back is the David White phlox. Get in here so you can see it a little better. These, they aren't blooming yet. Give them another month and they will get a lot taller as well. And additionally, they can be divided, so we can have a lot of it back here over time. Another one of the Amsonias, string theories, they look good. Again, the Azure Snow Salvia, looking so much better. I do see a few holes coming. So, I may need to bring some Captain Jacks out here, or neem, and spray for bugs. Again, this is all a repeat. with the Amsonia, the going bananas, and a phlox behind it. Azure snow salvia, sky pencil holly. See all that nice new little tip growth? It's grown a few inches. And then another dwarf firepower nandina. And here we go. These are exploding as expected and will continue to do so because we have at least four full days of all day sun this week, no rain. I think the rain's starting this weekend again. This sweet potato vine, the lime green, it can be a thug. In fact, I see here that it seems to have crowded out one of the calibrachoas. No, this is Super Bina. Not sure if it'll come back, but that's okay. Then we have the Super Tunia, more of the Gara. Here's the calibrachoas, Super Tunia, and the Super Bina. One thing I do not like, it's probably because of all the rain that we had, but I am watering these once a week with water-soluble fertilizer, which I showed at the beginning of this, and it is leaching onto the concrete. Really not anything you can do about that as it goes through the container, except to power wash it. Try to kind of remove those stains, which at some point we will probably try to do. Here's the other one. Just super healthy. And then we repeat. Dwarf firepower nandina, sky pencil holly, again, good growth. New little leaves you can see. Growing on the tips. Creeping Jenny. Azure snow salvia, which will have mixed purple and white blooms once it starts blooming. And I do see some little blue stalks starting to form. Not sure why it's laying down, but we'll see how that goes. Going bananas daylily. David White phlox behind. String theory Amsonia. I just think that's just a beautiful plant. It blooms early spring, so it's already done its blooming, but it looks just fascinating, I think. Now and in the fall will be a golden yellow. Look at these salvias, and guess what? Right by the gutter, even though there's a drain under those white rocks, obviously it's getting a lot of water, so that's what it likes. After this weekend of rain that's coming, next week I will turn the timer on to water 15 minutes every day because it's starting to heat up and it is June. Another Amsonia, the daylilies, a couple of phloxes back there. Now this salvia, the one on the left is one that was on the left was the one that had died, and they sent me a new one. Looks so much better. Before I planted it, I filled my laundry room sink up with about a 1/4 inch of water, and I let it soak overnight. So it would have a lot of moisture in it when I planted it. I think that did help. You can see as I pan through here, we have off and on some of the drip tubing showing. That is not good. We need to put more bark over it, which we have a bag, I believe, at the house. So I'll get my husband to come help me do that because they're heavy. But even though you might think, well, it's for aesthetics, that's true, it is. but even more than that, we need to protect that tubing from UV rays. Even though it's very strong, the sun's rays can break it down. So we got to keep that covered. More Japanese hollies. Firepower dwarf, Firepower Nandina's looking really good. Hollies. And these catmints. I believe this side over here gets a little more sun because it gets quite a bit of afternoon sun. And you really can tell the difference. Look how big those are. And look at the gara behind it. It's really shooting up compared to the left side. Gladiola's here. Oops, looks like I need to bring another stake over maybe for this one. It's wanting to fall down. And we have one flower spike. Obviously the bright orange ones seem to be the ones to come up and bloom first. Amsonia and emerald green arborvitae. I am absolutely thrilled with how well these are all doing. They look glorious. Give you one more update probably in a week, and then we'll publish this video. As I've said before, sweet potato vines can be a thug. And you can trim them. I actually trimmed them, oh, I don't know, maybe 5 days ago. But they are being thuggish. So, I'm going to trim out quite a bit of these vines. Especially the ones kind of on the top, kind of hiding the rest of the plants. Don't worry, they will grow back. I want this to be more of a trailer going down the front and not this way. And also, because the sweet potato vine was so vigorous, it snuffed out this calibrachoa. Well, I don't know if it was calibrachoa or superbena. But because it did snuff it out, I got another calibrachoa to help fill it in. I think it was not a calibrachoa. I think it was one of these superbenas. But you know what? It looks like the superbenas are not doing all that well either. They're probably getting entirely too much water from all the rain. A little biotone down in there. Okay, better. The winds really make this gara kind of lay over instead of standing up nice and tall. verbena here seems to be doing okay, but it too is getting really crowded out by the sweet potato vine. So it's the same thing. Okay, I will fertilize these. We'll be done for the day. At the 5-week mark, it was time to change the watering to every single day. The deluge of rain that we've been having is gone. Now I want to talk about these boxes here for a moment. My husband Randy built them using some very old barn wood that our church brother David kindly donated to Randy, and he built a box for each side. I'll show both. But here was the problem. And initially he built them where the lid would open, and that was it. Well, you couldn't get to the timer. You could get to the shutoff, which is helpful in the winter when we just turn the water off completely, perhaps. But you couldn't get to the timer. So he fixed it. Here's what he did. He did it in place. He took one of the boards off and he added hinges and a closure. And it's so dark I can't really show you, but the timer is right there, which will allow me now to adjust for every day. On the other side of the building, the box was built a little differently because it's attached to the wall, the faucet is. So it has 4 sides, but it has an opening where it just slides down over the faucet to hide it. It too has a flip lid, but again had the same problem, so he added a little door to get to the timer. Don't look at the dirty back of my vehicle. More maintenance. First I want to show these gladiola stems. They were completely falling over and I cut them off, plus they were dying. I mentioned before I'd never grown gladiolas before. Man, the stakes would have to be 6 feet tall. May take them out. I had mentioned before too that we needed bark, so that's what I'm doing now, is adding bark to the areas where the drip tubing was uncovered. And every week I am fertilizing with the water-soluble, Proven Winners water-soluble fertilizer. So put a couple scoops in my 2-gallon bucket, 1 scoop per gallon, fill it up, and I will be watering the containers. And now we're going to talk about the containers and the thuggy, beautiful, but very thuggish sweet potato vine. It's going nuts. See what I mean? You can't see any of the rest of the plants in there. So again, I whacked on it, both of them. Fertilized them with the fertilizer. And finally now we're going to show at 6 weeks what everything looks like compared to originally planted.